it would not take long for Jason Chen and Gizmodo to figure out their next moves.
This was not a common practice, especially when you talk about journalistic integrity. Typically, a news outlet will not buy something in order to report about it. Before, you had to have multiple sources to verify information. This was like, we don't need a source, we're gonna buy this thing.
On April 19th, 2010, Jason Chen publishes what would become Gizmodo's most viewed piece of content of all time, titled, "This is Apple's next iPhone," and it is an embarrassingly thorough teardown of the prototype. The disguise is fully lifted, every secret is on display.
I remember checking the Apple forums and initially not believing that it was real because it seemed so crazy.
When this story broke, people were like, nope, that's far too ugly to really be the iPhone. And yet, it very much was, yeah.
Chen breaks the entire device down, not just in the text of the article, but also...
I remember specifically watching my friend Jason Chen holding what seemed to be the upcoming, unannounced, unreleased iPhone.
Hey, I'm Jason Chen. This is the new iPhone.
We've got Dan Ackerman, the senior editor at gadget website CNET.com. Good to see you. What do you make of this story? Some people say it's a gimmick by
It's
Apple to
definitely
get
not
some
a gimmick.
publicity.
I mean, I've been writing about Apple and its products for years. I've never seen anything like this. It's completely unprecedented.
That is the biggest hardware leak story in history.
That was a moment where the rules were completely broken.
The only proof that Gizmodo offers on the day of the story going live, in a section they label as "Why We Think It's Definitely Real," is a quote from industry veteran John Gruber from the Daring Fireball. So let's call him.
It annoyed me, and still does in hindsight, the way that Gizmodo tried to play this as, oh, we don't know, you know. If you're going to buy a phone that you know was stolen in a bar, just own it. Don't sit there and pretend like you just happen to come in contact with it from these good-hearted people who found it and didn't know what to do with this phone that they found in a bar, which is ridiculous.
This would be a monumental device for Apple, a device that introduced many of the features and experiences we seem to take for granted today. This would be the first iPhone featuring a front-facing camera for what would be a revolutionary feature of the era, a little something called FaceTime. The rear-facing camera would also receive a flash, another first. The iPhone 4's display would be wildly improved over the 3GS, and as Steve would later tell us, had pixels so small that they would be imperceivable to the naked eye. The iPhone's very first Retina display. That, along with a litany of other changes across the entire device from materials to button changes and more, this is a big, big deal. This was Apple's golden egg. An iPhone prototype has landed in the hands of journalists, exposed for the entire world to see 2 whole months before Apple ever planned to officially announce it as the iPhone 4. The reality sets in. This was the iPhone 4. This was Apple's next iPhone, and there was nothing Apple or Steve Jobs could do about it. There's no going back now. That article sends so many pieces of this story into motion. It happens very quickly and all at once. That same day, Jesus Diaz publishes another article to Gizmodo, How Apple Lost the iPhone 4, where the transcript of his call with Brian Hogan is presented alongside a call with Gray Powell and Gizmodo author John Herman.
Hello? Is this Gray? Yeah. Hi, this is John Herman from Gizmodo.com. Hey, you work at Apple, right? I mean, I can't really talk too much right now. Oh, I understand. We have a device, and we think that maybe you misplaced it at a bar, and we'd like to give it back. Yeah, I forwarded your email. Someone should be contacting you. Okay.
Gray is described as sounding tired and broken, but still employed at Apple. As you can imagine, the internet basically exploded. Tech products getting leaked happens, and Apple is certainly not immune to that. iPods, MacBooks, even the original iPad had leaked the same year a bit earlier. But this was on a completely different scale. Even now, if you see a leak, it's usually a blurry photo from supply chain, or if we're lucky, a CAD file. This was it. The actual phone, straight from the source.